Okay, continuing the countdown now. Last three videos. At number 30, we have another classic that I only recently discovered, but it shot up on my list real fast once I did. Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Another Bogart movie, uh, but a different kind of Bogart movie. This is not Bogart being Bogart, like the Maltese Falcon. Treasure of the Sierra Madre is Bogart being a paranoid, greedy lunatic. Wonderfully so. And oh man, when I watched this movie, I was just spellbound from start to finish. Um, Basically, it's of course about guys who go up the mountains looking for gold, and you know they all turn on each other. Their greed gets the best of them, and it's there's no maybe no better movie. Maybe Jaws is pretty good with it too. Men bonding, how men spend time together. Um, just if you haven't seen Treasure of the Sierra Madre, go watch it. I mean, I was skeptical about it too for decades, but I when I watched it, I loved it. Number 29, another really criminally underrated movie. Dismissed at the time of its release, but it is so good. Stranger Than Fiction. Will Ferrell. If the Academy can just get past with these actors like Jim Carrey and Will Ferrell, if they can just get past the sort of goofy stuff that they've done in the past, these guys are the great actors that we need to sort of take over for people like Tom Hanks, who are starting to get older. Um, we need great actors to take up the helm and just you know make great movies. Will Ferrell, between Stranger Than Fiction, he's done some other dramas. There was one he did last year called Everything Must Go, where he was amazing in it. He's an amazing dramatic actor, and Stranger Than Fiction is an amazing movie. Where he plays a guy who uh, starts to hear a narrator in his voice, and he realizes that his life is being written. Somebody is out there writing a book, and the book, whatever they write, that's what happens to him. And it's about taking control of your life and, to sort of push destiny aside and do what you feel you want to do with your life. It's just a great movie, and it's also the best performance by Maggie Gyllenhaal as Will Ferrell's love interest. Um, an actress I don't really care for, but she's just absolutely adorable in this movie. I mean, just the she's sort of a ball buster in the beginning, but she becomes the woman that any guy would love to have as their girlfriend. So, Stranger Than Fiction, if you haven't seen that, go check it out. Uh, Tone number 28, we've got another tie because you can't pick between these two. People have tried, it can't be done because they form a symbiotic relationship. You can't have one without the other. Terminator and T2. James Cameron's best movies, fuck Avatar. Fuck Titanic, okay? The movies he should have won Best Director for were Terminator and Terminator 2. Schwarzenegger doing a part that nobody else could have done uh, anywhere nearly as good. Um, and really, Schwarzenegger was never this good again. And, if you look at his body of work, he was born to play the Terminator because he can't really act. He's not Stallone. Stallone actually can act. Stallone, in Copland, of course, the Rocky movies, he chooses to do crappy action movies where he looks like he can't act. Schwarzenegger, I don't think can. That doesn't change the fact that Schwarzenegger is brilliant in T1 and T2. As is Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor. Sarah Connor is really who you should be paying attention to in these movies, not Schwarzenegger. Sarah Connor is the best film heroine in all of movie history. Um, and the evolution of her character from Terminator 1 to Terminator 2 is what is so just enthralling about those two movies. And it's why Terminator 3 and Terminator Salvation aren't nearly as good, because she's not in them. She was the heart and soul of that franchise, and when she left, the franchise just sort of disintegrated. Everybody's seen. I'm not. Raise your hand if you haven't seen Terminator 1 and 2. You're dismissed. Go away. Everybody's seen these movies. I'm preaching to the choir here. So let's move on to a movie you may not have seen. We're going classic again, and I don't have the individual movie. I have the box set. Duck Soup. Marx Brothers. The Marx Brothers are fucking brilliant, okay? The Marx Brothers are, and I'm a sucker for old school comedy teams. We already in the last video talked about Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. The Three Stooges are my fucking heroes. I love the Three Stooges. The Marx Brothers, however, are the thinking man's Three Stooges. The Marx Brothers are, and that's not to, I don't want to knock the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges actually do pretty smart comedy. The Marx Brothers are, however, if you're not really listening, you're going to miss so much. This is not a movie you could just pop in and zone out. Duck Soup is the kind of movie that you have to sit there and pay attention. And if you do, you are rewarded with some of the funniest material in any movie ever. And this is an early talkie too. I mean, this is back when talkies were sort of new. And it's a brilliant satire about the insanity of war, about how ridiculous our governments are, how childish they can be. But if you're not interested in that, if you just want to laugh, Duck Soup will make you laugh. Now we're going to move on to another comedy, this one from the 80s, a childhood classic of mine, The Goonies. The Goonies is an underrated movie. It's one of those movies that when people talk about 80s movies, it doesn't usually get mentioned. They talk about a lot of other movies from the 80s. Goonies ranks up there with the best of them. It's a great action movie. It's a great kids movie. It's insanely funny. And it's so great because it's a movie where it really shows kids being kids. Kids will say bad words. Kids will make sex jokes. It's not a G-rated Disney movie. This is kids being real. And oh man, I love Goonies. Goonies is one of the most fun experiences you can have watching a movie. And it's one of my great childhood memories is watching Goonies. And I can still watch it and, just love it. And by the way, anytime I go down a water slide, I'm humming the Goonies theme song in my head. Every fucking time. We're going to go comedy again. Number 25, classic, Blazing Saddles. Blazing Saddles is funny like the Marx Brothers because it's so smart. It's not like the later Mel Brooks movies like Dracula Dead and Loving It or Robin Hood Men in Tights, where you don't really have to have a brain to get it. You just have to have seen other movies. Blazing Saddles is funny. You have to know the Western genre to get the jokes. And it's so daring. I mean, to me, it's daring to this day. The stuff that is said in that movie. It's, the racism that is discussed in the movie. The very liberal use of the N-word. It's sort of, you could never make it now. You could never make Blazing Saddles now. And on top of it, it's just funny. It's just a funny movie. I mean, if you could be the stupidest person in the world, you will think Blazing Saddles is funny. You could be the smartest person in the world. You will think Blazing Saddles is funny. However, you can't be stupid to enjoy number 24. Number 24 on the list, another 80s classic, one Best Picture, Amadeus. Amadeus is, without parallel, the best movie ever made about music. It has no competition. I've never seen another film that deals with music in a way that you not only are watching a great drama, you are learning so much about music. It's of course the story of Mozart and the rivalry that he doesn't even know is going on between him and Salieri, and for just the scenes for F. Murray Abraham, maybe one of the best performances in film history. The way that when he goes to see Don Giovanni, and then he's breaking down what's going on in the opera when he's an old man talking to the priest. And of course, the scene where Mozart is dictating the Requiem to Salieri. You're watching that being composed. You're seeing the process. And it's not a short little scene. This is a scene that goes on for 10 minutes, I think. And it's thrilling. It's like watching a thriller. Great, great movie. And then we're going to move up to number 23, the one that everybody says is the greatest movie of all time. Citizen Kane. Love Orson Welles. Citizen Kane is a brilliant, brilliant film. And if you haven't seen it, it's one of the great American experiences, is Citizen Kane. And Orson Welles is one of my favorite directors, even though there's not very many movies of his. I mean, The Stranger and Lady from Shanghai are two other great Orson Welles movies. Orson Welles is a true artist, a true film pioneer. And Citizen Kane is his crowning achievement. And unfortunately, it was such an early movie for him that he never really topped it. And so there's sort of a tragic element. Get this version of it because it comes with a great documentary about the movie that is mind-blowing when you hear what went into making this movie. We're going to go back to the 90s now with number 22, Apollo 13. And you've all seen this movie. I'm not going to talk about it that much. Apollo 13, Tom Hanks just... Who would have thought back in the 90s that Tom Hanks was going to be our great dramatic actor? Apollo 13 and Philadelphia and Forrest Gump and Castaway, Saving Private Ryan. Tom Hanks is just a mind-blowingly good actor, and Apollo 13 is one of the best historical films ever made. And it's so exciting. It is another movie that is not a thriller that you're on the edge of your seat. True story. I'm sure most of you have seen it. The Apollo 13 mission that went terribly wrong, and trying to get those astronauts back to Earth safely. It came out the same year as another movie that will be higher on the list, and I saw Apollo 13. I thought it couldn't get any better, and they're very close, but there's a movie that came out the same year that's just a little bit higher on the list. Finally, 12 Angry Men at number 21. Another movie that I didn't get into until last year, but when I've actually watched it like 4 or 5 times since then. And it's just 12 guys in a jury room. That's the whole movie, just debating, guilty, not guilty, and all the prejudices that these 12 men have start to come out, and you see, oh, this guy doesn't like the kid because he's a racist, and this guy doesn't like the kid because he's got problems with his own kid who's about the same age. And it's a great character study of these 12 men who you never even really find out their names, and yet you get to know them so intimately. A brilliant film. And all around, you want to talk about perfect acting from a cast? 12 Angry Men.